We're going to be talking about reproductive tools. To do that is Dr. Mark Wilson. A little bit of bio on Mark. He had an education and got his BS and master's here at Iowa State University. Went to University of Kentucky to get his PhD in reproductive physiology. He was at the University of Minnesota for 11 years in teaching. Then he got out into industry and has had a wealth of experience there with United Feeds, Minitube of America, Zinpro, and currently with Feedworks USA. Variety of experiences there, and he's going to share those with us today. He's been given talks in 47 different countries over his career, and he's got a wife, Molly, and 3 daughters and 4 grandchildren that he's very proud of. Mark, welcome.
Thanks very much, Russ.
Do you want to use this, or do you want to?
I'm okay with this. If I get moving around, I might have to post myself here. I'm a bit of an active person as far as you'll see a lot of hand gestures, et cetera, with this. But anyway, I need to find the slide first. There. Thanks. Great to see such a great group here, and we're going to try to have some fun with this. I really appreciate the talk this morning from my other reproductive partner and friend from University of Illinois. He laid out a really nice pattern that I'm going to fill in some of the whys with some of the things that we do. The first thing that I want to, I'm going to keep these going so that I stay on track with this. Reproduction is really an interesting topic, I think, for me across the world. From the standpoint of, if you look at all the things that interact with reproduction's a really tough thing to make it do really well. And so you'll find one of the areas that's the most work is going to be guilt and reproduction with guilt. And so we're going to look at that for a bit. Still on hold. So I have been in sow farms and boar studs in over 40 different countries. So I hope I got a few ideas and backgrounds that can help look at a few of these ideas. But here's the thing that's really intriguing with that. If you take a look at the number of places that I've gone, they all almost have the exact same problems. I get a lot of times on farms that I get onto, and they'll say, my sow is over 300 days, and is that working? Perfect, thank you. Thank you, IT, appreciate that. And so if we look at this, so one of the things that I'll tell you right off is, so like the monkey doesn't hear anything, doesn't see anything, doesn't say anything, but guess what? When you walk into a farm, the thing that is really important in that is you do not want all the information that the farm's trying to tell you, or start reading the screen, their whiteboards with their data up there and that, because I find more often you will get fooled by what's going on in the farm rather than figure it out yourself. So when you're a consultant, you got to walk in and you need to make sure, don't pay attention to it, go out, pick your things, now put it together with what they have for their records. They're doing a good job on at least what they're accumulating, but we've got to make sure that that thing works. So the first one we want to address is this issue of a gilt. How much does the gilt eat less than a sow? About 15% less on the average. You can get, the gilts will have that much less feed. So you've got something already that you need to, how do you get the gilt to eat a little bit more? We had several talk about the thing, if you've got gilts, you pour the feed to them that first day, and then they back off on feed, and they don't feel good, you make their little baby pig sick, etc. we want to make sure that we don't have to worry about, where we're going with that. So what we do is look at this. Here's what's interesting about a gilt. She eats less, but we try to get the thing of lactation maintenance. Body maintenance is first. Lactation's our next priority. She's still got to grow. She's running out of nutrients for growth. And if you take a look for reproduction, guess what? Have you ever noticed on your records that if your first parity sows, that they have a lot longer weaned estrus interval? How many see that? Yeah. Okay. You're getting to see why this actually happens. They don't eat as much. The thing your goals are with this is to make sure that she never drops her third week on the amount of feed that she's eating. The more you can keep her consistent with that, the better your weaned estrus interval is going to be. All right. Now, this looks like one of these charts, and the farm workers in this don't like seeing some of these, but this one's really interesting from the, oops, I hit the wrong button. So if you look at this, we got two different things that can happen with a gilt. We actually overfeed second parity through sixth parity sows on the amount of lysine, the amount of protein or the amino acids you have in that sow's body system. If you take a look at this, what is interesting is that gilts, if they get short on protein, what happens is it's a signal from insulin. It goes to the hypothalamus, this piece of the brain, and tells it, hey, I got GnRH is being reduced, and what does that do? It reduces then LH, FSH, and our hormones for the gilt. So she has less hormone output. Now, take a look on the other side. If we look at the issue of carbohydrates, and carbohydrates tends to be even the bigger player in most of these systems, but what happens is they don't eat enough, and again, insulin is the triggering sensory thing to the anterior pituitary with the release of LH, FSH, and so what happens? Our ovaries are putting out less hormone. All right. Good enough on that one. Let's go to the third parity sow. So if we look at the feed, and this thing, whoops. Oh, I hit the wrong button again. Oh, it didn't. Oh, yeah, it did. Okay, here we go. My apologies. Okay, if we take a look at this, now third parity. How many find you have very many problems with third parity coming into estrus for you? It's almost not a problem. 4 and 5 days, they're coming on, they're doing well. It might even be 3 days, might be 6 if she's just a little behind the game. But typically, third parity, you're going to be in great shape. It tells you we got plenty of nutrients for that animal. We're not in trouble. We're in trouble with the gilt, all right? Next one. So if we take a look at what happens if we get into an inflammatory problem, something's going wrong. The animal gets sick. She gets heat stress. She gets anything that creates a impact to them is causing then a decrease in what's happening with our lactation, because body maintenance, the next, I have got to believe this thing. Here we go. Okay, so the immune activation, take a look. Lactation starts to decrease. Now, here's the piece that puts those sows in trouble. If you've got a third parity and she's got an inflammatory response happening, you are going to see that she's going to start losing weight. She's giving everything she can to those piglets to make sure that they are viable and going. And so what happens? Growth is not much of an issue in third parity and beyond, but if you take a look on reproduction, we now can get into real trouble with the issue that she doesn't have enough nutrients, and she's probably going to come up and give you a poor reproductive response. So if we look quick, take a look at the target. Our target, we want to make sure that we don't breed them until likely the second estrus. They ought to be over 300 pounds. I tend to like the range that people are saying, that your upper end of this is probably around 350, 355. We like the bulk of them to be around 330 to 335. That is your number that really sets up a nice success issue. So if we look, second estrus prior to mating, early detection onset of estrus, and look at, we want to, sow lifetime, we'd like to get over 60 pigs. It's tough to do with a gilt because how many gilts do we drop out of the system? So you go to the average numbers that I talked to a couple of the computer groups that are keeping track of all these, and guess what? They're saying, a lot of people used to talk about there were 82, 83% of their gilts get bred and that they're there. The real number is much closer to 77%, down to 72%. It's showing you we have quite a cascade with this. We'd like to have the litter be less than 16 pigs, total born. The one I really prefer is always to talk about live born. Total born doesn't do me any good taking them to market, okay? A lot of those piglets don't make it. So if we look at this, 22 pounds of body weight loss after farrowing, that's gilts. I would actually like to keep the sows that's less than 10 pounds that they lose during lactation. You can feed them and get them to do that easily. Gilts, we got to be a little more careful, but I still like to target as close as I can get them to 10 pounds of body weight loss. They do much better on that end than when they are weaned, and the issue of looking at their weaned estrus interval. Rules for bringing gilts into the breeding herd. It's interesting, there's a lot of different ways to look at this, what things are important. I would tell you, this belongs in the veterinarian's camp. Make sure you got people that know, okay, what do we need to do, what's happening. Here's a quote from Gary Dial: infusing gilts too quickly into a herd is similar to pouring gasoline on a fire. Don't get yourself in trouble. Make sure, take your time to get those gilts put in there because they're really important in the system. Okay, if we take a look at colostrum quality and quantity, this one is, if we look at the piglets and look at those piglets that are on the anterior end of the sow, tend to be better milked than the ones on the bottom end of the sow. All right, so if we look at colostrum stimulates development of reproductive organs, it's really important to get good levels of colostrum. How long does colostrum actually last in these gilts and sows? How much do you think it is? 24 hours. Okay, 24 hours, 12 hours. It's under 6. We're going to show you some data that it is not very long. This thing of the parturition rate for sows is really important that we start figuring out what are the details that we need to do to speed up parturition. And there's things like calcium, magnesium interactions that are important, that help with a calmer sow, that she lays down, she puts the pigs out in a faster pattern, etc. So if we see, if we look at measuring immunocrits and looking at immunoglobulins, guess what? The inulin goblins, there we go, got it finally. Too much about Halloween last night or something, okay? So when we have that and take a look at it, what we find is that the immune quantity in the first hour to hour and a half, you will deplete more than half of the immunoglobulins. That's a big deal. You're talking about, so now how do I pick out which gilts get the nurse or which gilts, because they go on, it actually impacts what happens with their reproductive tract. It impacts which ones are going to be the better and bigger gilts. So if we look at low birth weights, they have much, much lower immunocrits. So when they take this data was actually done by Dr. Billy Flowers at the University of North Carolina State, and it is really an interesting message. Litters with more than 15 pigs, guess what? Again, the problem, they get much reduced immune responses. Next. So if we look at the issue of prolactin, anybody know what prolactin is? Okay, I got a couple of heads nodding. Go ahead, tell me. It's the release of milk. That's one of its biggest points. It's got multiple ones. But the issue with prolactin is we've got a lot of these sows. We keep aiming for the thing to increase the litter size that these gilts and sows have to have. Well, guess what that takes? You got to have more CLs on those ovaries. You've had to have more ovulations that actually occur to get where that progesterone's getting high enough that it's actually backing up and knocking prolactin out of the game. That's a bad thing because prolactin is the major component that alters and improves your colostrum. Okay? So if we look at peripartum peak of prolactin, we look at the issue of progesterone, it inhibits prolactin. Now downage regulation of the receptors in your mammary glands. So what happens? Colostrum yield was greater in those that had a high prolactin level and a low progesterone level. If you look at then the bottom number, and what it shows you is that the lower your prolactin is and progesterone is higher. Here's why I want to point this out to you. This is a picture in one of the packing plants that I was at, and we were pulling this out, and I said, look, I got to count those. How many CLs are on those two ovaries? It's over 60. Well, that's sort of ho-hum to a couple of vet friends of ours in Rice, Minnesota. They just had a sow that they pulled out. She has 90 CLs on the two ovaries. That's not going where we want to go. It's not the right thing. This thing that keeps selecting for bigger and bigger litter size has to start being throttled such that we make sure that it matches up with the potential for that sow to handle and do this. So if we looked at the prolactin conclusion, a greater prolactin progesterone ratio, 24 hours prepartum by lower P4 concentrations, a trend for greater prolactin concentrations led to increased colostrum yield in gilts. You can actually improve your gilt performance if we make sure that this happens. So now that's going to add to a new item. What if we can do transition feeding? So we're going to get those sows ready before the sheefarrows and then do this. What is interesting is it is a really short time span. So really feeding her or changing that actually does not create quite the answer that we're actually looking for. We're getting systems that are putting in, buildings and systems where they can have multiple diets for the sows, do this kind of thing. That'll help. But what we're looking at here is that the transition feeding and what things are doing, This transition from going from gestation, altering the hormones, increasing estrogen, decreasing progesterone, increasing prolactin, is much, much better and more important. We talked about desirable traits today. They mentioned several times in the ones this morning, talking about the issue that what do we do with this sow structure and is she correct? I like all the things they do with your measurements to try to look at body condition scoring. But again, we want to make sure what are we looking for or what are we after? This is the thing that we talk about with rump slope. I will tell you this is the #1 problem in the sows, both first parity and the other parities, is this issue. You want a straight top line, you want the tail head to be high, and what you see is that gilt stands with a much better structure of where she's at with the thing. If we get these, oh, I did it again. We get these and look at this. Now take a look. What's this sow doing? She's stepping up underneath. She's got her toes turned out. She's probably got very sore back legs. And take a look. If I draw a line from this top line all the way down, look how far that differential is from here to there versus this. It's almost a straight top line, and she's in great shape. Yeah, very good up front. You got it. All right. Here's another one, POP. This one, to me, and the numbers that they showed, I don't want to waste a lot of time on it. But again, this is the lameness one. Here's the one we don't know what it is. So it's the ones that we don't have data on, et cetera. We're working on it, trying to go a different direction. But the thing that's interesting in this one is actually an easy one to do. So particularly if it's hind legs, that trimming, you can do that. It makes a great response, just at least get those toes clipped back to a normal level, and that sow will stay in for at least another parity or two. Some of these you may have to even do it. We are working on projects that we actually know or start to know that the time frame that it takes to feed to reduce the POP issue, and we know feed products that are actually making a move on how is it helping and what's it doing to this. So another one we look at with feet. This one's interesting only from the standpoint, this is what normal horn tissue looks like in underneath the hard claw part. The outside hard claw, it is just these little tubules, and all of the tissue around these are packed around it in a circular motion, how those cells lay in there. And that's why it takes a very strong form and structure. But look at this one. These are on the exact same magnification of the two pictures. This is showing you a sow that now has a problem with sore feet. These tubules will actually die. And then she becomes even more lame with what's happening with this. So injuries, oh, man. There we go. Injuries to these, what we see is the larger this gets means you got blood flow in this, and what you see is the keratinocyte tissue is not near as durable and pliable because you don't have those tubules actually building and making the correct stuff for their feet. Here's the issue of looking at mammary glands and teat formation, so they've got plenty of room to nurse these pigs. You can see one. Oh, how do I keep bumping that? So if we look at this, then what we see is you've got a nipple missing right here. So somebody's going to get a nice good meal, and the rest of these are going to be a little less further back. So if we look at the issue of vulvas and problems that we find with vulvas. Tipped up vulvas, the issue of almost very infantile vulvas, almost not there, and then another one with an infantile vulva. what is interesting with this, Iowa State University did a really interesting project looking at the issue of the width going across from one side to the other of the vulva as to what does it mean as to selecting out those gilts at 15 weeks of age, and are they better gilts, etc. And they are. So if we take a look at this, the vulva width, they ran 958 prepubertal gilts in a commercial system. They ran them at 15 weeks. Once we got to 15 weeks of age, 20% of those gilts had small vulvas. Would you keep her on the farm? Got a few no's in here. I wouldn't. You don't want to keep her on the farm. You've got one or the other of these two things. What happened to us, why we have a smaller vulva, might have been at birth and now at production and building these animals. So if we look at gilts, vulva scores at 15 weeks had lower inclusion of rate of breeding herd and produced fewer pigs through two parities. Vulva score classification is an appropriate age that would be valuable tool for identifying gilts with the greatest reproductive potential. So we've got some that you should be able to really make a difference in what's happening with those. Here's another one dealing with this issue of space. 15 to 18 square feet. I'd probably prefer 18 square feet in this unit that I've got actually pictured there. So what happens? They get a group in and they start, and they're going to try to breed every one of these gilts. That's the same way with some of the places I go in Asia. They want every single animal bred. Whether they're good or not good, they want them bred. Well, we can breed them, but doesn't mean you're going to get a farrowing. So with this, what we find, this unit started piling up, and they go, well, we can't turn them loose. We've got to keep all these gilts. So what do? They have double the number of gilts they're supposed to have in for the square footage. Guess what the heat check bores do when they get in there? It's like scared to death. Yeah, it's like, ah! And they are out of the pen. They're in trouble, okay? Because those gilts will get very, very aggressive if they're in estrus, but what they see, that differential. And so space is an important aspect of that. Cost of heat stress, I gotta zip a little quicker here. If we take a look at this, this is just showing you that what heat stress costs in the United States for the swine industry. So almost $900 million a year. Grow finish is about $450,000, and sows are about $450,000. This is a chart by Lance Bumgard here at Iowa State University. And when we look at this, what it's actually trying to tell you, what are the pathways that happen? The more you can prevent those animals from having all the blood go to the extremities because they're too warm, you now want to make sure that you have either a system to try to help control that, or you've got a cooling system that is aimed to take care of that so that we don't get into immune activation and problems with it. If we look quickly at one of the things that we're trying to protect is this issue of I blanked on the, I'll get it in a minute here. The villi with the cell structures. Help me, Tom, I'm stuck. Shoot. Yeah, I know. That's the actual junction right here, but I have keratinocytes on my head, and that's not the right word. Sorry. Brain damage up here. Okay. So anyway, these are the cells of the intestine. And so these cells, if we take a look, if we heat damage this, or you damage it such that you've increased your microbiome has changed, you've got E. coli affecting this, it'll break this down. This is what we call the paracellular pathway that takes you to the blood cells. What this does is that can restitch and heal up if you've got enough calcium and enough zinc in the diet to help that issue. But the big thing you're trying to prevent with heat stress is actually inflammation. And so we want to look at a thing that will help take care of that barrier. Enterocyte, that's my word. There we go. Thank you. So anyway, with this, what you see is your immune system down underneath this that tries to help protect and how this whole thing goes. When this opens up, that's the paracellular pathway. And the cytokines that give you the biggest read when that gets in trouble is TNF-alphas. All right, if we take care of inflammation, all right, we got inflammation. One of your biggest rules with this, inflammation increases, intake generally decreases, and your nutrient utilization decreases. It goes to be utilized to try to help that sow get over her problems. So if we look at inflammation and some of the inflammatory things we see with the reproductive tract, I want to show you a quick little video clip that is an analogy to what I want to show you for the ending. So if you'll take a moment here. Whoops.
Where's his right wing? He's just lost his wing.
Oh my God! Is that James up there? Oh my God!
Oh no! No! Amazing!
So what's my point? Other than that, it's a scary ride. Okay? My point's this. Anything you can do to reduce stress or inflammation, particularly to the gills, will pay you great dividends. It's like flying the plane with two wings. Okay? That's what we're after. This guy can fly it with one because he's an air stunt pilot, etc. All right? So, but I don't want to get in and try to fly that. Reproductively, I'm not going to succeed very well. That's what I wanted you to try to get. Now, here's my other point. Take a look at this picture. What's it saying about this session? Reproduction's a luxury. You can't think about it any other way. That's why you've got to treat it with so much dignity and character, and how you try to work with it and do it is because this only happens when you get all the things working for you. So you get rid of inflammation, you get rid of the problems, and makes a difference for you. So one last one. So he didn't want to end early, so anyway, thank you very, very much. I apologize for my poor job on doing the remote. Thanks.
Do we have questions for Dr. Wilson?
Mark,
Yeah.
how do you balance acclimating your gills and not having any inflammation?
It's difficult, but bringing them in transition to think about having them in a little longer time period, particularly to get mixed in with the building, that is an issue that we all get in a hurry because guess what? We're short on gills. So then what do? You stick them in, guess what? Then you start getting gills that get feeling bad. or you get built it's the first time on brand new concrete. I can't alter that other than we know we have to go to more gilt numbers, and then we've got to try to figure out, okay, what can I do to help soften the thing with that brand new concrete kind of thing. There isn't a perfect answer to it. It's just anything we can do to try to make it simpler. I think we've got to look at a lot more nutrient products that are out there that are doing changes and differences to the industry that we really need to probably address. So like glycine monolaurate, okay, nice big, GL90, that's easier for me, I can remember it, okay? I didn't remember Interocyte, but I finally got it. So if you look at that, then start thinking about what things can that actually do for gilts. So it decreases rotavirus, it decreases other bacterial issues of your biome, and you can modify, mitigate, and lower the amount of virus for all kinds of viruses that it can do. Why would you not use that product? There's almost nothing else that I think would get you a bigger boost on what's the immune system for that animal. Sorry. Any other ones? Quick. I'm behind schedule, I know. I'm sorry.
We've got a long break coming up.
Oh, do we? Any quick comments?
Back here.
Add to it?
Is there any genetic component to volicize and/or prolapses? And will we work through that as an industry to identify markers that have a propensity for those things? About 3 questions.
Janelle from sorry. Actually worked on that project and actually has identified how to actually see that. What we also know is there are products out there that if we get the right mineral support and the right support from some tissue things that they do with off the seashore issues that really have a very big timing with making this work. I will tell you, you can't just put it in and think it's going to work in 4 weeks. It will not. It does not. It takes, my guess was I kept telling my partner, it'll be in 6 weeks. Well, we blew by 6 weeks, okay? But we got to 8 weeks and started there, and then the decline showed really nice answers. And we've seen nice answers in already 2 different models. We've got a 3rd model that'll be coming up. Another one that's becoming a big interest, like in Europe, is the issue of potentially gestational diabetes again, now in pigs. Boz Kemp back in, 15 years ago, about that, in early 90s, late 80s, he was a big boar expert, etc., but early 1990s, and looked at this, but he couldn't find enough differential. We're finding enough differential that it's actually sorting out that there's about 30-some% of the sows have gestational diabetes. Right? So maybe we've missed something. And we need to think about, okay, how do we handle that? And so there's a lot of these. We don't have all answers to them, but we know we're getting closer to things that may give us a big boost. That's the best I can do with that. So, but anyway, top pigs and how did I blank on this? Tell me your company name. Norseman, there we go. My brain's losing it. So anyway, that they have some technologies that I'm very impressed with in what they've done. So, but there's a lot of good things out there that we're still missing, I think. Any others, quick ones? My reproductive partner, Tom?
Well, I was just gonna ask, what do you think is causing this prolactin progesterone? Is it all ovulation rate, the differential that you were talking about?
I don't know. I don't have enough examples of the large number of follicles, CLs on the ovaries. So that's where I gotta be really careful because it's just one example. I think it's an interesting example because Billy Flowers, when he took the ratios, what he found was that it made a really big difference on the category that they went to, and that and so he kept them for 2 parities, and they way outperformed on the ones that had the higher prolactin. And so here's the problem was, how do I sort the gilts out? So if she's laying there farrowing, putting those down, do I pull my first, hour and a half of pigs off the females, if I'm trying to keep the female litters, etc.? Then do I get a better balance of what's the colostrum, those kind of things? And again, I don't have enough data at this point to look at the immunocrits and different things that we've done. We did a big project actually with Ashley and her group on looking at that in one of their systems, and it was interesting, but again, it didn't answer all the questions we wanted answered. And so I can't say much more than that. I don't know if you can add to that or not on that one. Okay.
Okay, we're going to go to a break. Let's thank Dr. Wilson.